All right, let's do something a little different today. We're not just going to answer an exam question. We're going to pull it apart, piece by piece, to see exactly how the marks are awarded. We're going to get inside the examiner's head. Let's get started.
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You can spend weeks, months, revising all the content, but when you're sat in that exam hall, what specific words or phrases are going to make the marker go, yep, that's a point? Well, today, we're going to find out. So, here's the plan. We're taking question 5 from a real AQA higher tier paper, and we're going to use the official mark scheme to deconstruct every single part. Think of it as your inside look at how to turn what you know into what gets you marks. Okay, so our question kicks off with a classic topic, malaria. It's a perfect example of a communicable disease. And these first couple of parts are all about testing your core knowledge of the pathogen itself. Right, first up, a 1 marker. Nice and straightforward. It's asking for that one specific biological term for an organism that acts as a shuttle for a pathogen, like a mosquito does for malaria. And boom, there it is. The single word the mark scheme is looking for is vector. Nothing else will get you the mark. This is so important to remember. In biology, using the precise terminology is a game changer. Knowing these key definitions is how you scoop up these easy, quick marks. Okay, moving on. The next question gives us this diagram of the malarial protist. Now have a good look. You can clearly see organelles inside, right? There's a nucleus, and those little bean shapes look like mitochondria. This picture is a massive clue for what's coming next. And here we go, the question that uses that image. It's for 3 marks, asking for 3 differences in their structure. They've even given you a huge hint by telling you the protist is a eukaryotic cell. So really, this is just a classic compare a eukaryote to a prokaryote question. Now this is where seeing the mark scheme is so useful. Look at this. There are 5 possible correct answers. You only need to give any 3 of these pairs to get all 3 marks. So for example, you could say the protist has a nucleus, while a prokaryote's genetic material is free in the cytoplasm. That's 1. Then you could say it has mitochondria, and it doesn't have a cell wall. That's your 3 marks, right there. So we've covered the structure of the protists. Now the question switches gears to focus on the effect it has on the human body. This part is all about testing your ability to connect the dots between what's happening on a tiny cellular level and the symptoms a person actually feels. Okay, this is a 2-mark explain question. Notice the structure. They give you the cause, bursting red blood cells, and they give you the effect, tiredness. Your job is to fill in the biological steps that link A to B. And this is a perfect model for how to answer an explain question. The first mark is for making the most direct link. Fewer red blood cells means your blood can't carry as much oxygen. Simple. The second mark, though, comes from linking that lack of oxygen to respiration. And here's the crucial detail. The key phrase is less energy released. Examiners are super picky about this. You can't say energy is produced or made. That one tiny word can be the difference between getting the mark and not. All right, the question is taking another turn. Now we're zooming in on a different but related topic, reproduction and cell division. This section covers how the protists, and really how cells in general, make more of themselves. Another 3-marker. This time you're filling in a table to compare sexual and asexual reproduction. They've even given you the first pair, so your job is to come up with 3 more distinct pairs of differences. And here are all the acceptable comparisons straight from the mark scheme. You could talk about 2 parents versus 1, gametes versus no gametes, genetically different offspring versus clones, or meiosis versus mitosis. The key thing is, you need to provide 3 complete pairs, 1 point for the sexual column and its direct opposite for the asexual column to get each mark. Okay, now for a 1-mark suggest question. This is all about application. You have to use what you know in a new context. So, you know mitosis is about making new cells, and you know new cells need a full copy of DNA. This drug stops the very building blocks of DNA from being made. So, how does that stop mitosis? And the answer is just so precise and logical. If you don't have the building blocks, you can't build the thing. No new DNA bases means you can't copy your DNA. So the key phrase is that DNA replication cannot occur. Without that second copy of all the chromosomes, the cell just physically can't divide into 2 new identical cells. Now we have a classic 3-mark describe question. Notice it doesn't ask you to explain why anything happens, just to describe what happens. They want a simple, step-by-step account of mitosis. And here are the 3 key stages the examiner is looking for.
First, the copied chromosomes get pulled apart to opposite ends of the cell. Second, the nucleus itself divides, forming two new nuclei. And finally, the rest of the cell, the cytoplasm and the membrane, divides to finish the job. If you hit those 3 key points in your description, that's 3 marks in the bag.
All right, for the very last part of question 5, we're switching gears one more time and moving into data handling. You'll see this kind of thing all the time in science exams. They want to test your ability to read and interpret information from a table or a graph. So here's our data in Table 4. Let's just take a moment to figure out what it's showing us. We've got different age groups of children who have something called disorder S. And the second column shows the percentage of those kids who also get malaria. Just take a quick scan of those numbers. What kind of patterns or trends do you see?
So the question asks you to describe what the results show, and notice that it's worth 2 marks. That is a huge clue. It means they're not looking for just one simple statement. You need to find 2 distinct points or trends in that data.
And here are the 2 points the examiner wants. The first point is the big picture conclusion. The data suggests that having disorder S might actually reduce your chances of getting malaria, since the percentages are all less than 100. The second point is about describing the specific trend related to age. The percentage goes down, down, down until you hit age 10, and then it shoots back up again. Nailing both of those observations gets you the full 2 marks.
Phew! Okay. We made it. We've completely dissected that entire question. But what have we really learned? This was about way more than just malaria and mitosis. It's about the skills that exams are built to test.
Think about it. This one question tested a massive range of skills. You had to recall a key definition, compare different cells, explain a chain of events, contrast types of reproduction, describe a process, and interpret data. Realizing that exams test these skills is absolutely crucial for preparing effectively.
And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. Examiners don't just pick these questions out of a hat. Every single part is carefully designed to test a specific bit of the syllabus and a specific academic skill. The more you can practice thinking like an examiner, the more prepared you'll be. Thanks for digging into this with me.